how to approach a case of posterior scleritis, and she heads the Department of Uveitis and Ocular Immunology at Narayan Nethralaya, Bangalore. Has many index publications and has a great presence internationally and nationally. We look forward to hearing from you, Dr. Padma Malini. Can you share your screen? Dr. Padma Malini? Yeah. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes. Good evening to all of you. At the outset, I'd like to thank Dr. Chitra, Dr. Srinivas, and AOA scientific team for inviting me here today to talk on approach to a case of posterior scleritis. Posterior scleritis is a painful inflammatory disease of the sclera that may be associated with systemic autoimmune disease or an infectious disease, or it can be idiopathic etiology. The sclera is being an avascular structure. It's most often, because of it, is an uncommon site of inflammation. Posterior scleritis occurs commonly in females, unilateral presentation, recognized with increasing frequency due to increased clinical awareness of the disease and with the widespread clinical use of B-scan ultrasonography. The next 9 minutes also, I'll be talking to you with a 10-step approach to a case of a posterior scleritis. The detailed history taking is important, followed by clinical evaluation and documentation of the clinical features and to classify what type of scleritis it is. Then systemic evaluation, ordering appropriate ocular imaging techniques. Based on this, we will like to put a differential diagnosis, management guidelines, and what are the complications with the take-home message. First, we will see the history. Eye pain is most often dull, aching, boring pain, which wakes them up from the sleep. It is one of the characteristic features of scleritis. Patients can have pain on extraocular movements. They can have photophobia, complaining of blurred vision. These symptoms most often recurrent. If they have associated anterior scleral involvement, can present with redness in the eyes. Coming to the clinical evaluation, whenever we see a patient with scleritis, we need to see them in the natural light with lifting the eyelids so that we can pick out whatever is changes happening in the anterior sclera as well. In the slit lamp, we have to do a red-free filter examination to delineate the blood vessels. They are delineated clearly on red-free filter slit lamp examination. Coming to the clinical features, sometimes the fundus may look normal. Patients may complaining of pain in the eye, can have ocular findings such as choroidal folds, macular edema, optic disc edema, or nodular lesion. In the case of a nodular posterior scleritis, can have associated anterior scleritis component as well. Coming to the classification of scleritis, it is not well adapted like a Sun classification. There are various grading systems available. Watson grading divides them into anterior or posterior with diffuse or nodular, with necrotizing or non-necrotizing types. Whereas McCluskey and Wakefield, they've structured and quantification of scleritis, they've done it. And Zen et al. Have done the photographic grading of scleritis. In this, McCluskey can be adapted. We have different scoring systems. If the patient has scleral necrosis or if they have associated retinal detachment, then the scoring comes to 4. Based on this, we can quantify the scleritis. If it is mild form, we go them with systemic steroids. If it's moderate, they go for immunosuppressions. If severe, can be treated with intravenous methylprednisolone or cyclophosphamide therapy. If there is a score is decreases by 2, then it is called improvement. Score is decreases by 4, it is called resolution. But we do not follow regularly in a clinical practice. But this can be applied to quantify the posterior scleritis. Anatomically, the type posterior scleritis can be classified into diffuse or nodular type. Here is a case of a diffuse posterior scleritis showing the subtenon's fluid on B-scan ultrasonography. Here is a case of a tuberculous nodular posterior scleritis where we can see the nodular or well-defined lesion in the underneath the retinal blood vessels. Here you could see the localized thickening with subtenon's fluid in a case of nodular posterior scleritis. Systemic evaluation is most important to give us a clue. If the patient has a deformity like this, then the diagnosis is most obvious. We are dealing with a case of rheumatoid arthritis. If you have a lesions like this, the lupus perineo, then it's a case of a sarcoidosis. If the patient have associated sinusitis, the lung involvement or the renal involvement, here you have a maxillary sinusitis with ANCA positivity due to what we used to call it as a vaginous, nowadays we call it as a granulomatous polyangiitis. If the patient comes with skin lesions and thickened ear lobule, it's secondary to Hansen's disease. So if we examine the patient systemically, we will get a clue to find out the probable etiology in a case of a scleritis. We order regular investigations like complete blood count, urea, creatinine, electrolytes, and appropriate additional investigations to determine the history and the clinical examination. These are the commonly ordered investigations. We have done a multicentric study with the Singapore and Australian group, and we noticed infectious etiology is the commonest cause of a posterior uveitis in posterior scleritis. In this, tuberculosis was commonly seen in a population. Tuberculosis, we had a detailed discussion, so I will not go into the detail. Syphilis we have to order both non-specific and specific form of tests for syphilis, either RPR or VDRN or TPHA or FTABS. In a case of rheumatoid arthritis, in addition to the RA factor, anti-CCP antibodies also can be ordered. Antinuclear antibody or dsDNA in the case of a systemic lupus erythematosus. Sarcoidosis, ACE, HRCT can be ordered. MAN2 is invariably negative in these cases. Whenever we suspect an ANCA-associated vasculitis, ANCA titers are ordered in a case of a granulomatous polyangiitis or polyarthritis nodosa. If you have an HLA-B27, we order in a case of an ankylosing spondylitis or psoriasis. Coming to the ocular imaging, B-scan is a gold standard, not only for the diagnosis, but also to monitor the response to treatment. What are the findings we can have? We measure the thickness of the sclera, the presence of a nodule, or T sign is a separation of from the subtenon's space, the fluid accumulation, disc edema, choroidal detachment, or a retinal detachment. This is a diffuse, this is a nodular kind of a posterior scleritis. This is a diffuse posterior scleritis with a subtenon's fluid. Here is a case example of idiopathic posterior scleritis. Patient was treated with systemic steroids. Here you could see the choroidal folds. This is a nodule with the subtenon's fluid. Following treatment with systemic steroids and systemic immunosuppressive therapy, we could see the resolution of the inflammation with the disappearance of the choroidal folds and fundus photography with decreasing the retinochoroidal and scleral complex on the B-scan. The next comes fundus fluorescein angiography. It shows pinpoint leaks followed by pulling of the dye. The disc leak and vascular staining can be there. The choroidal folds can appear as a light and the dark bands. They are not a characteristic features, but it can be seen in posterior scleritis. They can have dark and the light bands. The ICG is not, it doesn't give us extra clue, but we can appreciate the dark and the light bands in a case of a posterior scleritis. The next comes autofluorescence imaging can show hyperautofluorescence surrounding the areas of hypoautofluorescence. FFA shows disc leak with pinpoint hyperfluorescence with pulling of the dye. OCT can show presence of serous retinal detachment. However, the posterior extent cannot be imaged with spectral domain OCT. SWEP source can go up to the posterior extent of the sclera. Here you can have serous detachment with subtenon's fluid. Other radiological imaging such as CT scan and MRI can be done. Here is a CT scan showing thickening of the sclera in a case of a scleritis. As a postgraduate, we have to think sometimes out of the box, not what given in the literature. We have done the study using a thermography in treatment in a posterior scleritis. This was taken by my colleague, Dr. Ankush, using a thermal camera, where you could see the hot colors indicates active scleritis. This is a cold normal eye. And this has been monitored to find out the response to treatment, which were published recently in a Russian Journal of Ophthalmology. Coming to the differential diagnosis. So if you have a subretinal mass-like lesions, it has to be differentiated from melanoma, where we order MRI, or other tumors like choroidal hemangiomas and secondary lesions. If we have a choroidal folds, hypotony can cause, or orbital inflammatory diseases. Choroidal detachment are seen in uveal effusion syndrome or angle closure glaucoma. If you have exudative retinal detachment, it has to be differentiated from VKH, CSCR, or APM-PPE. Here is a case of a VKH. How are we going to differentiate? Posterior scleritis is a unilateral entity. VKH is a bilateral disease associated with multiple serous retinal detachment. It is preceded by headache and tinnitus. Can have extraocular manifestations such as alopecia, poliosis, and vitiligo.
You'll have to conclude, Doctor. Sorry, we're running very late.
Yes, ma'am. It's unilateral. It's a thickened eyeball with rounded retinal detachments is seen. Coming to the management, we have to make it's posterior scleritis. If we can quantify, we can quantify. We have to identify the associated systemic diseases. Coming to the management guidelines, topical steroids and oral NSAIDs are the first line of management. Most of the times, posterior scleritis requires systemic steroids. Then the third line is immunosuppressive therapy. In necrotizing scleritis cases, we give intravenous cyclophosphamide. In mild to moderate cases, methotrexate can be given. In severe cases, we go for biologics using rituximab or JAK inhibitors. In necrotizing scleritis with the scleral melt or scleromalacia perforans, rarely surgical options, scleral batch graft can be done. Complications similar to uveitis can have cataract, glaucoma. Necrotizing scleritis rarely can present with globe perforation. To conclude, systemic autoimmune diseases and infectious causes to be ruled out before we starting the patients on systemic steroid therapy. B-scan ultrasound is used not only for diagnosis, but to monitor the response to therapy. Posterior scleritis, most often local therapy is ineffective. Subconjunctival and subtenon injection has to be avoided in a case of a necrotizing scleritis. Scleral biopsy is a potentially hazardous procedure. It has to be reserved in a case of refractory infectious scleritis or to diagnose malignant etiology. Thank you for your attention.